Ms. Kazuya, you ready? Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Pennsylvania County Board of Supervisors work session Tuesday, September the 19th, 2023, 3:30 p.m., Board Meeting Room, 39 Bank Street, Southeast, Chatham, Virginia. Ms. Kazee, roll call, please.
Ms. Eanes.
Present.
Mr. Ingram.
Present.
Mr. Scares.
Here.
Mr. Tucker.
Here.
Mr. Warren. He is here by phone.
Okay. Mr. Warren?
Mr. Dudley
Present.
and Mr. Dalton.
Here.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
in order for Mr. Warren to participate remotely pursuant to the Virginia Code and our bylaw, Section 218, he's got to identify the nature of his absence. Mr. Warren, I believe you're sick. Is that correct?
That is correct. I have some illness and will be unable to attend the meeting.
Okay. And you also have to identify the location from which you're calling in. Can you please recite the address where you're calling in from, please?
185 Sunny Knoll Lane, Virginia 24540.
Okay. Thank you.
Are we good, Mr. Hunt?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Agenda items to be added. Do we have any needs to be added? Okay. Not moving to item 4. Approval of the agenda. I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So move.
Thank you, Mr. Tucker. A second.
I second.
Second, Ms. Eames. Any discussion? If not, we're ready to vote.
Mr. Warren, may I get your vote?
Yes.
We good, Ms. Kazee?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. For the citizens' convenience, all work sessions and committee meetings are now being recorded and can be viewed on the same YouTube location as the Board of Supervisors meeting, business meetings. Please remember that the board's work sessions is designed for internal board and county staff communication, discussion, and work. It's not a question and answer session with the audience. Accordingly, during the work session, no questions or comments from the audience will be entertained respectfully. Any outburst or disorder conduct from the audience will not be tolerated and may result in an offended person removal from the work session. As a reminder, all county citizens and other appropriate parties as designated by the board's bylaws are permitted to make comments under the hearing of the citizens section of the night's business meeting. Item 5, presentations. Do we have any presentations?
Yes,
We do, sir.
Okay. Well, item 6 is we need to move to that.
Yes, so,
Okay.
Just start with 6A and go down.
Okay.
We,
All right.
we threw
Moving-
you off here with that little
Right.
5 in there.
Thank you. Moving to item 6A, 2024 reassessment update. Ms. Budd. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Chairman Dalton, Vice Chairman Dudley, and board members. I'm here to present Fred Pearson of Pearson's Appraisal Service. This company continues to diligently work on our 2024 reassessment and remain committed to seeing that our reassessment is completed accurately and on schedule. Mr. Pearson is here to give you an update on his findings and what steps are next on our reassessment project.
Well, thank you. Welcome, Mr. Pearson. How you doing,
Nice
sir?
to be here. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
As I told you last time, we're going to review just home sales for 2023. We've done that. We looked at them by quality construction and workmanship, which is what we call grade. We also have double wides in there too. Overall, you're going to be at about 95% of market. You're looking at a 48% increase. That's a little less than when we used 2022 and 2023 sales. They were around 97, 98%. Your completion schedule, right now we've finished all our editing that we need to do. We're waiting for just a few changes in the software. The notices will be mailed October the 16th. And when they have it, we're going to give them 20 days to call in to make an appointment. The last day to call in is going to be November the 6th. We'll be holding hearings this time. I've got the reassessment notices up here that we're going to be mailing out. I think you have a copy of that. It shows the previous 2 years of value, the new one. We had to use the tax rate by law that's been in the past, which will probably not be correct. I think it'll be adjusted because we got such a large increase in assessed values here, but that's what we had to do. And it's got all information on the appeals here. There's going to be 3 ways that people can appeal. They can call in, make an appointment, and see them in person. They can call in, and if they'd like us to call them back, we can set up an appointment for that and discuss their assessment. They don't have to come in. The county's done an excellent job of having it where they can go online and they can fill out the information, and they can attach photos, any documents, appraisals, or what have you, submit it to us online, and just do submit, and it's done. That's 3 ways that they can appeal it. We've got 3 locations that we're going to be holding hearings. At Gretna, at the library, we'll be there. The community center here in Chatham, Mount Herman, the library at Mount Herman will be there. When they call in, we're trying to make it so they don't have to drive far if they want to come in to make an appointment. We're asking which location they'd like to come to. So we've done that. All of the information that we have, the 2018 property record card, the 2024 property record card will be online. They can look, there's no need for them to call the county and ask for the property record card. They can print it, they can go online, pull the card up and print it, and they can see anybody else's property record card. It's all online. When I talked about percent increases and 48% increases, I can't see those numbers, but I think Pittsylvania County since 2018, it shows that you look at sales there versus May of 2023, it's about 57%. Danville at the same time is 110%, the city of Danville. Henry County, I think that's 103%. Bedford is 48.55%, just to give you an idea of some other localities and percent increase they've received. Yeah, and this is another, it just talks about the hearings. The county has tried to go through and list out things that people, when they come into the hearings, what they need, how they need to prepare. Information that we need, if they've got any properties, there's 2 ways that they can appeal. If it's excess of market value, it could be information that we didn't know. We do not make interior inspections of homes, or it could be consistent with another property. Consistency is very important, and they've got all that in there, so they can let us know when they do it in person. If they want to do it online, they can let us know too. And this is the appeal form that they go online and fill out. It's real simple. They can just tell us what their concerns are. They can attach anything to it that may help them better describe their property. And they can just submit it. There's no mailing in unless they want to. That's all our contact information up there. They're going to have a 1-800 number to call in. I have 3 people answering the phone to get everything set up. That's Pennsylvania County reassessment at gmail.com. That's the email address. And they got the website there for the county. And that's it, gentlemen. It's, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be kind of hot and heavy. The larger increase you get, the more people you're going to have appeal. We're going to have people here to hold the hearings that's done this quite a bit. And our objective is to be nice and courteous to everybody and make sure everyone gets a fair and equitable assessment. Thank you very much.
Any questions for Mr. Pearson? Mr. Scarce?
Yeah, Mr. Pearson, I love the reassessment notice. It seems like it got a lot of information, good information for the citizens, but can we make the red lettering, the font, as big as possible? Because that's a pertinent information people
Yes,
need
sir.
to understand. So
We'll do
kind
it.
of a joke about that. There was a lot of misinformation that went out with the last reassessment. We have to make sure the citizens are aware of what the process is. Thank you.
Yes. We're doing,
Yes, I was a little curious that we did data on county.
Did you get that, Mr.
I
Pearson?
did.
I didn't. Can you repeat that, Mr. Warren?
I'm curious about data on.
Got somebody
I didn't get it.
dialer, and that was on.
Text him, Clayton.
I've got a question, Mr. Pierce, while
Yes.
we're waiting. The time the citizens can call in, what time frame is that?
it can be at 9 o'clock in the morning to 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
9 to 4?
Yes.
Monday through Friday?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Okay, thank you.
We have 3 people answering the phones, and then they go to a voicemail.
Okay.
Did you hear the question?
I can't hear him.
Supervisor Warren, your phone is very garbled, so
I was asking Halifax. We didn't have any for Halifax.
Didn't have facts for Halifax County?
Correct.
All right. Did you have any facts for Halifax County?
I do not. I do not.
He does not.
It
Mr.
was not
Warren.
on the report.
Mr. Tucker, you have a
Mr.
question,
Dahl.
sir? Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. Mr. Pearson, thank you for being here and updating us. My question goes to the actual appeal itself. Can you reiterate, if you will, the convenience of locations for the appeal and how, I guess, intense is that appeal on the taxpayers?
Well, hopefully it's not very intense, but anyway, we do want to be accommodating to the property owner. It's going to be 3 locations: Gretna, the library there, the community center here in Chatham, Mount Hermon Library. And when they call in, we ask them where would they like to go, what's convenient for them. When they come in, we're going to be concerned about their value, their assessed value. And most of the time, they just we'll be there to listen. They're going to probably want to give us information while they feel like it's assessed more than market value, maybe not comparable to some of their neighbors. But we're there to listen, to make notes. We'll be glad to explain the property record card. We can show them whatever sales we have available. And we just want to listen to them. They may have information. Like I said, we don't make interior inspections. It could be something about the interior house that we don't know. It may affect value. But we're there to listen, and if we have something wrong or if they give us information that affects value that we didn't know, we'll make a change in their assessment. And anytime whether we make a change or no change, when we finish our hearings, they will get another letter stating results of their hearing.
Thank you.
And there's, like I said, we're trying to make it easy for them to appeal. This is the first time they've ever been able to go online in Pennsylvania County and fill out a form right online and submit their appeal and any attachments they'd like to submit also. And also, too, some people that maybe is not able to come in and they want to call back, and we'd be glad to do that. But we're glad to have people come in, and we're going to be nice and courteous to everybody that comes in. We're going to listen to their concerns, and we're going to try to give them a fair and equitable assessment.
And I also, for mentioning earlier, we will have rate, so hopefully we won't have people about the rate be adjusted approach to minimize impact on it.
I think he said we'll be able to adjust the rate, Mr. Pearson.
Yeah, I think that's what he was getting at. Only thing I can tell them is that the county's going to get a pretty large increase in assessed value, and it'll be up to the board to adjust the tax rate. That's all I can say.
Yeah, that's right.
And you don't know, I don't know until, you get your budgets in, it's going to be different departments for what it's going to be. Most counties, they readjust them, and some people's taxes are going to go up some, but not a whole lot.
Okay. Mr. Tucker, you got a question?
Mr. Dalton, thank you so much. Mr. Pearson, the only thing I'm concerned about with the logistics is the fact that since the rate will, not the rate itself, but the value of people's property will spike, to Mr. Scarce's point, to make the font larger, saying this is not a bill. But my thing is, more people will probably want to appeal. Are you prepared with the staff so that people are not waiting in line, or because that seems to be an issue during the appeals process from what I've experienced in the past?
I will have one person available that's not scheduled for hearings to, if somebody's in one location, they get backed up, he can go there and take care of the hearings and assist them. But I don't anticipate that. I'll have enough people here to make sure that we get it done in a reasonable amount of time. I did King William County. We got a 60-some% increase there. I think people were kind of shocked that you just walked right in and didn't have to wait to sit down for the hearings. Some people get there early. Some people may have a 10 o'clock appointment, get there at 9:30. And yes, they may have to wait till 9:45, 10 o'clock, might be 5 or 10 minutes after, but we'll get them in. But I don't anticipate long lines. I'm going to make sure that we have enough people to get the hearings done in a reasonable amount of time. Nobody's going to be rushed. We give everybody 15 minutes. If it takes 30 minutes, we're going to be there. If it takes 45 minutes, they can stay as long as they like and present us with information. We're not going to cut anybody off.
Thank you, sir.
What is the approximate time for responses to the IT side there, like calling in or online?
Did you get that, Mr. Pearson?
I did.
I think there's a time frame on a call in. Is that right?
They will have, the notices will be mailed October the 16th. They have from that time until November the 6th to call in to make an appointment. Now, we'll still be holding hearings after that time. It may be a week or two after that, we'll still be holding hearings. But they have that time to call in to make an appointment. And I've got 3 people that, usually every Monday morning is a busy time. It may be that some calls go to voicemail, but we should be able to get back to them the next day on that. I'd say 95% plus, with 3 people, we should be able to handle the volume.
Thank you.
And we'll be wanting feedback from the county too. If we need to do anything different, we will.
Okay.
But everybody's going to get through. Everybody's going to come in, and my people will be nice and courteous to them. And we want to know if we have something wrong, we won't be the first one to correct it.
Any more questions for Mr. Pearson? Mr. Dutton? Go ahead,
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Dalton. Ms. Pearson, thank you for coming today and giving us this information. You're setting this up at the libraries, correct?
Yes.
Are they going to raise the silence mode there? I'm looking ahead because there's some folks
Yes.
There's a couple of elderly folks that I know that if it happens, he's going to appeal, and he don't talk quiet. I'm just going to tell you. So I'm just thinking ahead that it could happen. So
Well, I can tell you this, it's not going to be too many things that they come in and say that my people hadn't heard before.
okay,
And sometimes when they get excited, we just have to listen and make notes.
yeah,
Through everything else, we just want to make sure we get the values right. And if I've got a subdivision wrong, an area wrong, I'll change it all. I just want to get it right. We've done the best job we can, but we don't know everything. And that's why we send out notices, and that's why
Sure,
we hold
yeah.
hearings.
yeah, that's fine. I'm just thinking ahead. You see where I'm coming from.
Sir, I've done it. I've had people come in, and only thing I can do is listen, and I'll tell them, yeah, I've got your concerns noted, and I'm going to make sure you have a fair assessment.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr.
Yes,
Dodd.
sir. Thank you, Mr. Dudley. Any more questions? All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Pierce, for your time.
Have a good day.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate your time, sir. Thank you.
Moving to item 6B, River Street Broadband Project Update. It's Mr. Bud.
Good afternoon, Board,
Welcome.
Mr. Chairman. We wanted to give you an update on how the broadband project in the county is going, so we asked River Street to come in and give a little demonstration and a PowerPoint. So I got Zach Church here. He's their Director of Network Engineering and Construction. And is Scotty coming up also? Okay. And he's going to give you guys an update and let you know what the status is of the broadband project. Just to say, we've been getting a lot of calls from citizens asking questions about it as well, so it's definitely something the people want, that's for sure. All right. Come on, Zach.
Thank you, Mr. Bud.
Thanks, sir.
Welcome, Mr. Church. How you doing, sir?
Yeah, doing fantastic. Good to see y'all tonight. As Mr. Bud said, I just wanted to come and give everybody a little update on where we're at, kind of where we come from June when I was here last. So we'll go through the presentation here. There we go. So these first numbers are kind of going back over the same numbers of what we're trying to accomplish here. 16,502 locations altogether. And just the numbers on the funding there from CAF, VATI 22, VATI 23, and what with the county as well, that comes to about $91 million. So it's a huge project. So last time I was here, we were talking about connections, and that is a big thing that we're all looking for is when we're getting the first one. So there's some of the racks and stuff that we were looking for when I was here the last time, the OSC cabinet. There on the left of the screen is where we terminate kind of the cables from the field cables that's going out through the roads into those yellow tails that go to the cabinet that we connect the equipment. So those are here, as well as the next 7 remotes that will be lighting up. Those panels are here. You see there, that's when they were splicing it. And that's the question. So right now we have 88 homes that can get connected. They're all in our Sandy Level Cabinet 1 area. That's the green dots on the map there. And currently we have 1 customer connected. We got them connected yesterday and just kind of get them connected, make sure we're not having any issues. This is the first fiber customer up here. We've not had any problems. We've got 2 more scheduled for tomorrow. I've got my engineer out of Bellhaven Market. He's coming up Thursday, Friday, going to be working with our local techs there. And we hope to we're going to work to a pace of probably 80 a month, trying to get them installed as quickly as we can. That's kind of our goal right now. But we currently have, in just the Sandy Level area, 227 orders as of yesterday that have been placed. This is an as-built KMZ file of all the cable, pedestals, handholds, stuff like that we have installed so far, with the exception of Lakeside. So our updates run, I don't know, 20, 30 days behind what's actually live. So we get everything updated once as-built billing is completed. So we'll notice Lakeside doesn't have much showing up there. Kind of looking at where we were before we got started here. Let me find the sheet on here so I can read those numbers a little better. Again, just an update of where we were between then. So right now on Sandy level, we're about 82% completed, which is up about 35% from the last time I was here if we just look at cable. Just kind of want to show you guys what we have been doing since the last time we were here. Here's kind of a zoomed in shot of everything that's been installed. When we look at Renan, we're about 635,000 feet of cable installed at about 65%. So that's up roughly 62% of that area has been completed since June. And there's a zoomed in kind of section of that one. Also in Java, we're, by the numbers, we've got about 33, almost 34% of the construction completed, in which that is up from 11% in June. So we're making a lot of progress there as well. Kind of a more zoomed in area of where that's at. And then the last one is Lakeside. So in June, we weren't here yet. We were just getting ready to kick it off. So we kicked it off. Looking at these numbers, it shows we're not even 1% done. However, in the 30 days, we've just about wrapped Lakeside up. So within probably the next 5 or 6 days, that'll go almost 100%. It's a smaller area, kind of in the northwestern corner, little northwestern pocket of Sandy level is where it's at. So it's a separate building. That's kind of why we named it a little different. But overall, for everything that we've got under construction right now, we're at about 55% completed. And that's a little over 223 miles of cables been placed since, or total through the project. We look at Domo, kind of here's all the pockets there. Almost 14,000 homes, 88 that's now available, and then the rest under construction. The blue are the ones that are part of this build. The yellow are the ones that are under construction, and the green's the ones that's able to be connected. We'll keep updating this map. This is what they see on the map off the website. That'll keep moving, and a lot more green's going to be coming here shortly. Kind of what we've continued to work on with materials. We just sent out an RFQ for a fiber optic cable. So we've partnered with a distributor called NetSeed out of Greensboro. It's where their more local office to us is. And Prismium Cable, which is built in Hickory. They are a really good product. We use them along in a lot of different areas. They've guaranteed us 9 million feet of cable in the next 12 months. Guaranteeing us pricing for the same months as well as the monthly shipments. And we've already placed our first 2 orders. There's a copy of that purchase order. Charles Industries, we are still working with those guys. We've got, I don't know, 3,000 or 4,000 of them probably on the yard right now. Me and Scotty visited that before we came up here. And there's a lot of PEDs on the yard. And then currently having our handholds and minor materials, things like that, all seem to be flowing pretty good. And I know that's going to be a question here is what's going to hold us up going forward. And, right now I think everything's looking pretty good as far as materials seem to be where I expect them to be. It's not going to say that when other funding starts rolling out that we don't start seeing issues there. But where I look at right now, where I stand at right now, I feel like we're doing what we can. Cable feels really good, but it's pedestals that I still have a concern about, and that just comes from the manufacturers, available materials. With the crews we've got working, our goal is to keep them working on the next contracts and keep them rolling. Not seeing any real major issues or concerns there. I do know we are losing one of our contractors. They're going back to Wisconsin, and up there, the rock down here scared them. So, and that's kind of part of the delay on the timing. But that's probably my biggest concern is the pedestals. Excuse me. And one thing I want to address too is last time I was here, I spoke about 120-day contracts. And I think we've all can add up on our notepad or whatever, we've been a little longer than that. I think it's part of me being a little overzealous of what we can get done. But we are still holding those guys feet to the fire and pushing them as hard as we can push them. We're making amendments to those contracts, adding more routes and stuff to them. So we know we're not at the 120 days, but I think we're making some really good progress, and we want to continue to do that. Kind of here's an updated timeline of what we expect. Sandy Level, Renan, Lakeside should be wrapped up at the end of this year, no problem. We have Java. I hope we're wrapping it up in the first quarter next year. And then Strawberry and Chestnut, we hope to get rolling the end of this year and have those wrapped up about third quarter of 24. Then Ringgold, Brosville, about the second quarter of 24 into the first quarter of 25. Brightsville, the end of 24, or the second half of 24 into the second half of 25, and then Hurt back to the north, Hurt coming in starting at the end of 24 into 25. That's kind of what I see, or what we're on pace to do right now. I don't really see, again, going back to that last slide, is, unless we have major labor issues, things like that, I think we're on pace to stay with this timeline. And we'll be proactive in getting Dave and Scott information if we do see things changing, so you guys or folks are well aware before we start having issues. But that's kind of the update that I wanted to bring tonight. Does anybody have any questions?
Question, Mr. Dunn.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, thank you. I think you have gotten some calls and handled some situations in Renan this week, Straightstone area.
Yes, sir.
Got a call this morning, talked to a gentleman. Question is, you go over into their property outside of the easement that you do have. If you go so far and then have to come back and trench it from the original roadside ditch, will you abandon that piece of cable? And if so, in the future, say if a household wants to put a fence in and they have to dig post holes, they got to call Miss Utility, have it marked, and that line, no matter if it's live or if it's dead, it's just picking up metal and, the wire itself. So will you pull that line back out to make it not so inconvenient because they'll be scared to death to put a fence in or anything like that? You see what I'm saying?
So we have had an issue. We've got a little behind the right-of-way on a couple of those roads. And, part of that goes back, our engineering guys are really supposed to keep a close eye on that as we're going.
Yes, sir.
So we will make those right.
Yeah,
those
I understand.
But in most of those cases where it's a bigger cable, we're going to pull it back, dig it back out, fix everything back like it was as close as we can get it before we were there, and then, continue to address the situation if it washes or things like that. Most cases, we're probably going to pull it back.
Okay.
If it is a longer section or a smaller cable, we may leave it If that's fine with the property owner, we'll cut it dead on both sides. There'll be no worries. It'd never be located if Miss Utilities was called, because it's just going to end in the ground. So it'll kind of turn out being just like the copper cables that are there now. So we don't realize how much is in the ground next to the road.
Sure.
So all the copper cables that are in the People's Mutual area now, when we get the fiber built, we'll cut them off at the top of the ground, pull those pedestals, and you won't see nothing from the top. So it'll be just like those situations where, you know, if the owner was, you know, definitely wanted it gone, we would get it gone.
Okay.
It's not going to cause, it shouldn't cause any issue with anything. They may hit it with a post hole, digging
Sure.
a post or something, but that would be, you know, no cost or no damage really
Okay.
in those cases.
You understand then what I'm saying? Yeah, going out, yeah.
They're worried about it.
Yeah.
Just hitting it and,
Yeah, they're concerned. One of them went up in a yard of right much, and say if he passes the property on and he has if the cable's still there and has it located, they'd be scared to death, thinking it's fiber optics to dig into that, to put a fence.
they would, so to locate it, they get into like one of the pedestals or vaults, and it's going to be cut off in the ground. So really nobody's ever going to know it's there unless they was to dig down directly and hit it. Now, it could cause a scare at that point. They think with what's going on, that something wasn't marked.
Yes, sir.
But we keep pretty detailed records of everything we've had out there. So if there ever was an issue like that,
Okay.
we can address it then. But it would never be marked by a locate company.
Gotcha.
If they come to market.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr.
Yes,
Dalton.
sir. Thank you, Mr. Dillon. Mr. Tucker?
Mr. Chairman, thank you, sir. Sir, thank you for being here this evening to update us. I'm trying to frame this because I don't want to cold water your presentation, because I truly appreciate what you're sharing with us. But you mentioned in your presentation that you all were a little overzealous, and, you know, from experience, I've learned to underpromise and overdeliver versus overpromise and underdeliver.
Right.
My main concern is the situation that's going on with River Street in Mecklenburg. There's been either a slowdown of the work, or there's been outcry from the public because your company's not moving fast enough. So when you say you're overzealous in our county, is there a way that you can assure us that once you reset this clock, that you're going to be consistent with the work and complete as best you can on time?
Yeah, so, you know, talk about this project in particular. You know, I think we've got our first customer connected now, and we're going to see that in the next few months, the number of customers that continue to get lit. I think it's going to be a story that you guys can tell about it, what we're doing here, instead of me having to you know, lead that conversation. I think you guys are going to see it with the way we continue to develop this network. I'm probably not the one to talk about the other situation, but you know, I think, like you said, expectations are, you're better off to do more and say less than say more and do less. And so that's what, you know, I'm working on that myself, but I think we're at a really good place right here. We're going to continue to keep adding crews, and I hope by the end of the year, we're going to have, you know, crews in other counties started as well. So we've got a list of a pile of materials that's came in and a strong backing of engineering that's ahead of these guys to keep everything rolling. So I don't have any fears as far as what we've got going on here.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Any more questions? Mr. Scares?
On
Yes, sir.
staff, see if we can get this presentation forward to the board members.
Sure. Yeah, and there's a video too I'll share with everybody. Me and Scotty stopped by the school bus garage, took a video of the yard down there, just off the back of my truck, turned around, let you guys see the amount of materials that we have sitting there to feed this thing.
Yes, Ms. Ings?
Yes. You mentioned 24, 25 for the Ringgold district. How do you determine which part of Ringgold you will start? I noticed some of the cable has come from 698 down Mount Tabor, which is 729, just partial through that district. But how do you determine which part of Ringgold that you will start in
So-
that time frame?
Okay, so our building site there is going to be at the fire department. So we're working down from Renan south. We're going to come through Chestnut. We've got a building there at Carter Lodge, and we're going to come down and tie into the Ringgold office. So our hub is going to be at, for the very lower portion there. I need to get a map, get you guys a map of all these areas. But we've got to get that building lit before we can serve the heart right there around Ringgold Fire Department, say, that location or landmark. So we had to build from our existing network down. So that's what we've done. That's why we've done the outside most portions of what we had existing. And that's why we're working down, is to get those buildings lit. So that's kind of the reason behind why we're starting north and working south, is just to keep that connectivity going to light customers quicker. If we built in Ringgold first, we would have to wait till we had the piece built from Peoples down to light it anyway. So we're trying to build it where we've got connectivity now and extend that out.
Thank you, Ms. Eames. Any more questions?
Good question.
I've got one, Mr. Chair. On the sandy level issue, on this sandy level area, you said you was 82% there, is that correct?
I believe so, sir.
And has anybody connected in that area yet?
That's where our one customer is.
Okay.
That we got it up yesterday. I was wanting to get Rob, a little win for coming up to this thing, and then when I figured out it was going to be me coming to this thing, we definitely wanted to get me a little win. But no, that is where that one is, and it's in the cabinet one. I can
Are
probably.
they satisfied with your service?
As far as I know, I've not heard. I know Hart was going to go and take some flowers to the lady and kind of get some pictures and stuff for social media. So I'm sure you'll see that. But there's the whole sandy level exchange, and if you can see right, that disappears on the screen. Go back a couple more. Oh, there it was. So you can see those 88 right there can get service now, just kind of southwest of the lake there.
Okay.
Or southeast, excuse me. But they're the ones now. Within the next week or two, they're going to be another big section. So the map here, I think it was later on at the end. Yep, right there. So that little bitty green section that's there, those yellow sections will be turning green. I think on that time frame was by the end of the year, pretty much the left yellow and the right yellow is all going to be green. So they can all get orders.
Good.
Out of the left yellow, that's where the 227 orders are now. So
Okay.
within, like I said, a few weeks, that whole area should be ready to light, and we'll start hooking everybody up.
Good.
And then Lakeside should go pretty quickly.
Where is Lakeside located at?
It's right,
You said you
it's
was about completed that?
it's all but completed. The statistics don't look real good, but it's the most northern yellow points on the left, right up next to Smith Mountain Lake. There's a couple of new developments and stuff going in there, I think.
Okay.
I can't think of those road names, Scotty. I can't think of none off the top of my head, but that's where it is, that northwestern portion, those yellow dots there.
Okay. All right, thank you, sir.
Is it up Bright there? I don't know.
Yeah.
Bright's be Leesville like that, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
Yes,
Brights is a little more middle of that blue up there.
So you could be talking around the golf course.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yeah. I
Okay.
believe there is a golf course.
Yes, sir. Water's Edge.
Water's Edge?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
Okay.
sounds right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
that's all
sounds right.
So the green is hot. And will you be sending us an update on green, what turns from blue to green?
Yes, we can definitely do that.
Sounds good.
Our we've got this mapping system set up. It's what they see on the website anytime anybody goes to the website. But we'll get with Rob and make sure as these areas start turning green, we'll send Mr. Arnold here some information, Mr. Bud, so they can pass it on to you guys.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Would y'all like another update, 60 days or sooner? At least 60 days, is that good? Can you provide us another update in about 60 days?
Yes, sir.
Sounds good.
That
Is
sounds
good
good.
for
Thank you,
everybody?
Darrell.
Yes, sir.
Good presentation, too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Any more questions? If not, thank you, sir. Appreciate the
Thanks.
time.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Moving to item 6C, public hearing on signage update. Ms. Ragsdale.
She just
she-
stepped out
Okay.
for just a little bit, I think. She had a phone call, I believe.
Let's just jump.
Can we move to D,
Just move
Mr.
to
Hunt?
D, and then we'll come back and get C.
Let's move to 6D, Citizens Academy presentation. Ms. McFarley.
Here comes Emily. Well, you've already started that one. That's fine.
Okay. We'll go back to 6C. Ms. Ragsdale. Welcome.
Sorry about that. I had a sick child that I was checking on.
No problem.
Thought I had more time. All right, so at the last board meeting, you all asked me to do some checking around other localities to see what they required as far as signs and what those signs looked like, and then bring some of that information back to you all. So I have with me, this is the sign that we currently use. As you can see, it's very case specific. This is the actual size. We provide this sign and 2 wooden stakes. The sign has to be posted at least 2.5 feet off of the ground. So from the ground to the bottom of the sign has to be at least 2.5 feet. And it has to be posted just outside of the right-of-way. So we do have very specific placement requirements for the sign. All applicants sign a sign affidavit stating that they will place it in accordance with those requirements, and that it'll be placed on the property at least 14 days prior to the first meeting, which would be Planning Commission, and then it has to stay up through the second meeting, which would be either the Board of Supervisors or the Board of Zoning Appeals. All of our rezoning signs are black. All of the special use permit signs have red writing. It provides the specific information about the case, and then it gives the dates for both the Planning Commission meeting and the Board of Supervisors or Board of Zoning Appeals. It's not changing. Down? There we go. Okay, so this is the Code of Virginia. This is the code section that regulates how we give notice for all of our cases. So any public hearing that's held, whether it be the Board of Supervisors, public hearings, Planning Commission, or Board of Zoning Appeals, have to follow this code section. As you can see, we have to publish in a newspaper once a week for 2 consecutive weeks. The ad, and the first notice can appear no more than 14 days before the intended adoption. So before the actual public hearing, the first ad cannot be run more than 14 days prior to that. And then there's additional language in the code that regulates how many days have to be in between each notice as well. And then additionally, it regulates what has to be included in that notice, and then it regulates that all adjacent property owners, even those across streets, have to receive a letter from the locality. And depending on the type of case, it determines whether or not it goes by regular mail, which is special use permits can be sent by regular mail, but all rezoning applications go by certified letter. And so that certified letter, staff mails those certified, and then the recipient has to sign for that letter, or they're left a note on their door multiple times. And after so many attempts, the post office will send that back to our office, and we keep all of those return letters in a file. As you can see, posted notices on the property are optional. They are not required anywhere in state code. They are not even mentioned in state code. This is something, I think it's Albemarle County had a requirement in the state code at one time. I'm not sure. I could not find where that's still in the state code, so that could have been removed. But that was only a requirement for Albemarle County, not any other localities in Virginia. So a lot of localities did adopt that at some point, and I'll kind of go through what those other localities around us do. So this is Franklin County's sign. Back in 2019, Franklin County went from this sign, something very similar to this, that was done for each meeting. They changed it to this sign. It's a 2x3 sign, which is similar to this size. They are reusable signs. So Franklin County ordered a bunch of them. Staff puts them up 14 days prior to the first meeting. And this is all that is on that sign. It's not case specific. It just states that you can contact Franklin County for more information, but they are giving you notice that a public hearing was scheduled for that property. And then it is up to the citizen to take action to find out more information about that case if they would like. Other localities around us, Halifax County does not require signage at all to be placed on properties unless they are vacating a right-of-way. Campbell County told me that they had a county attorney one time that determined that citizens could not be required to post signs because it was not required in the state code. So they have recently, for the longest time, they did not post signs. They had a board member that requested that come back. So they now do have signs available, but there is a box on the form that you can check if you do not wish to post a sign on your property, which he said most applicants check that box and do not post a sign. But again, it's not case specific. It's generic sign similar to the one Franklin County uses. And then he said if the applicant does request that a sign be put up, staff does go out and put that up. But he said that's not a usual occurrence. Most of the time people check the box and don't put a sign up. The city of Danville does not require signage either. I also checked with Bedford County. They did not get back to me on the specifics. They do have signs. They are reusable signs, but the lady that I needed to talk to was out of the office, and then I have not heard back from her. So again, they use signs, but they're not case specific. They are a very generic size. This sign that you see, it's kind of hard to see on the screen, that's actually from Conway, South Carolina. I took that on the way to the beach. It's kind of a bad color because it blends in. But as you can see, that's also just the public notice, and it's very generic. It says that an application has been submitted on that property. Please contact the office for more information regarding that case. So that is all I have, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you all might have for me.
Any questions, Mr. Ingram?
Emily, thank you for that. We've had several conversations about this, and let me ask you, and I think I know the answer, but for those listening, from the time a investor, applicant, landowner comes to your office and makes application to the time those signs are posted, is there any time in between the beginning and the posting of the signs that a citizen could have additional input, questions, etc.?
Not under state code. So I can go back. State code is very specific as to when we have to notify the public. They're very specific about when the notices have to go out. They're very specific about when the notice has to go in the paper. And so when we start talking to applicants, we do encourage them to go meet with residents. But as far as the process, the way the process is established, the citizens' input, their time to provide input, is that public hearing. So that's why you have a planning commission meeting. They can provide public input at that planning commission meeting when the public hearing is held for that. And then they have the opportunity to provide public input at either the Board of Supervisors or the BZA meeting during that public hearing. So in order for us to make sure that we check all the requirement boxes and make sure that we do everything procedurally correct, we have to stick within the time frame that state code establishes. So we potentially could send out a notice earlier, but most of the time we have about a month from the time we get that application in to process that application and get all of those letters out. Depending on the case, it can be anywhere from 5 letters to 100 letters. And we have to manually go through, I sign just about all of those. So, it does take a while for those letters to get processed and sent out. And it's a process for us to pull that information out of GIS and make sure we have all adjacent property owners and all of their mailing information is correct. So it would be very tight for us to get any type of additional notice out outside of that required notice. Does that answer your question?
It does,
Okay.
yes, ma'am. And I think it's fair to say that sometimes when, particularly developers, when they come to your office and they start talking about a project, until they move forward or you move forward, it's, I guess, sometimes sensitive information. Would you not agree?
That's correct.
And so it's absolutely not feasible to invite the general public to come into your office every time somebody comes and makes an application for any kind of project.
Well, when they make application, at that time it becomes public record.
Right.
So if we have an application, the public absolutely should come to our office and request to see the application and ask us any questions that they have. A lot of times what happens is we send out notices to the public and then we don't have anyone come into the office and ask to look at the documents. They don't ask questions to staff. And then we show up at a meeting and there's a lot of opposition, some of which is due to maybe misinformation or not having accurate information or not having any information, whereas if they had taken the time to read the letter that we mailed out, they have my contact information, they have our our office address, they have our office phone number, so they can, there are opportunities for them to reach out to staff and have those questions answered and get information prior to those meetings.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions for Ms. Ragsdale? We're good. Thank you.
Oh, Emily, one more thing. Were you looking at putting that code on, if we want something like this, the code that would be case specific?
So that's up to the board, and that's something that you all can decide. If you would like for us to continue requiring that signs be posted, if we go with things that are very case specific, this is what you're going to end up with. We handwrite every one of these signs. We laminate every one of these signs. Our Public Works Department cuts stakes for every one of these signs. We don't have the funds to do anything much more substantial than this. As you can see, it's very flimsy. It can easily be damaged. Depending on how it's posted, it may or may not make it through. And at that point, if it doesn't stay up, the case risks being pulled, or we have to make another sign. The applicant is supposed to notify us, but if they don't notify us, the case could be pulled, or we have to make multiple signs so that they can continue to repost the property if the sign disappears. If we go with something that is not case specific, such as this, we have the ability to make them more durable, more like a real estate sign or something of that nature, and we could adjust the height so that they're taller than a real estate sign a little. You don't want to do too tall because then you run into wind blowing them away and things like that. But there's the ability for us to use QR codes to direct citizens to a website that provided more information about the case so they didn't necessarily have to come into the office. Obviously, we could direct them to a specific person to call, etc., if they had questions. That would be staff's recommendation, but we are open to any recommendations that the board has.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I sent a statement I read into the subject evading this issue. With
Supervisor Warren texted me and said, "We should be very careful, BOS, not to involve themselves without being totally transparent to the public that they serve." So that's what his statement he wanted read.
Any more questions? All right, thank you, Ms. Ragsdale. Moving to item 6D, Ms. McFarley. Citizens Academy of Presentation. Welcome. Can you pull your mic down? There you go. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, Chairman Dalton, board members. I am very excited to be here today to talk with you about the Citizens Academy that the staff is developing for this fall. And you may be asking yourself, what is a Citizens Academy? A Citizens Academy is a program that is designed to increase public engagement and awareness about how the county's government works, and it gives folks an opportunity to meet staff and who implement and carry out the programs that the board decides on. It's also a good way to generate a pipeline of residents who may be willing to serve in the future on boards and commissions and any other volunteer opportunities. It's a commonly used outreach tool by localities to accomplish these goals. However, before launching a full-length 8 to 12-week academy, which is customary, the team thought it would be good to try a smaller pilot program to see what sort of interest we receive. And so we decided to select 4 dates after the November 7th election and before Christmas, and all of these sessions will be held at the community center. And these are the tentative dates and times listed here. November 9th and the 16th and December 6th and the 14th. Now, before we started putting this together, contacted several localities and talked to them about how they put on their Citizens Academy. And we talked to Lynchburg and Dinwiddie County and Blacksburg and Clark County and Montgomery County. And they all said, you know, make sure that you keep people moving and keep them interested. And they all kind of approached it a different way, but we decided, because it was a smaller program, that we would build it around a simulated project. And in this case, we chose a multi-purpose recreational center. Now, by doing this, we were hoping to show how certain departments work, while at the same time allowing the participants to be active in the process of creating a simulated but realistic problem-solving exercise. And these are the departments that will likely be involved. Parks and Recreation, Finance, Purchasing, Community Development, Economic Development, Public Works, Legal, Public Safety, Information Management, and other departments or outside entities as needed. And to do this with the 4 sessions, we decided to group it into 4 main areas, and these will correspond with key departments. And those are community engagement, or community enhancement, public infrastructure and planning, finance, procurement and legal, and construction and programming. And for example, for community enhancement, that focus group would likely include economic development, community development, and parks and recreation. And in addition to providing an overview of what their departments do on a day-to-day basis, They can also talk about how their departments would respond to a project such as a multipurpose recreational center. And a lot of the data from for the recreational center will be based on the 2010 master plan for Parks and Recreation. And these departments could address key questions such as what makes the county attractive to business, why does the county want to plan how and where growth occurs, and why public quality of life amenities and programs are important. We also hope with each of these 4 areas to provide hands-on opportunities for the participants so they can get a real feel of what it's like to make these decisions. And also we want each session to build upon the next, so by the time they get to the final one, construction and programming, they will have gotten a good taste of what it's like to take a program from beginning to end. So right now, staff is working on the content of each session, and each department will provide the overview of their role and function, and then how they would respond. And then again, they will have an opportunity for hands-on interactive activities. We also want to make sure that participants will learn about the county's many boards and commissions and opportunities to serve, because we know that that's an area that constantly needs refreshing. And then we hope to culminate with a little graduation event. So the next step is staff continues to meet regularly to talk about the session content, and we will soon be preparing a marketing campaign through traditional means, newspapers, TV, radio, social media, county TVs, as well as podcast. Can also create flyers and brochures and distribute those around the county, such like the libraries. And we're determining a small budget to purchase any necessary materials for the academy. So at this point, board members, if you have any questions, I'm here to answer them.
Any board member have any questions for Ms. McFarley?
Yeah,
Are we good? Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Moving to item 6E, budget amendments. Ms. Vanderhyde. Welcome.
It is good to be here this afternoon. I have some handouts of my presentation so you all can flip along. Some of the wording might be a little smaller, so the handout will help you, I think.
Thank you, ma'am.
So this afternoon, we wanted to start by going over some of the highlights from the FY county budget that we are going to amend this afternoon or tonight. We have a public hearing scheduled. So, and I did exactly what I told them not to do. So the highlights that I'm sharing with you, the total is $26,456,451.22 that we are requesting that you all amend for the FY24 budget. You all should have received documents in your Friday update that outlined all of those specifically, and I am going to share some of those highlights this afternoon. The amendments include a combination of carryover funds as well as notice of anticipated additional grants, state and federal funding. These amendments have been advertised for public hearing, and that'll be held tonight. So this is a copy of the public hearing notice that actually was in the Star Tribune. That ran the first week of September to give us plenty of time for the public to know that there would be a public hearing. It's also been advertised on our website along with the documents that show specifics about each of those items listed there. So the breakdown will start with the general fund. The amendments to the general fund total $12,468,352.79. The carryover portion of that is $2,870,912.49. It also includes the school carryover of $9,597,440.30. So that is the amount that was reverted back to the general fund at year end for schools, and we'll have to transfer that back out if you also approve these amendments. The school fund totals $12,779,267.30. So their carryover is $9,597,440.30. They are receiving an additional amount from the state of $3,198,577. And I will note that that's based on the skinny budget that was approved prior to year end. It does not include the additional amounts. I'm going to get to that in just a little bit. I wanted to share some of the highlights from the recent state budget that was signed by the governor last Thursday. So there is a little bit of a reduction in their federal funding that was $16,750. So then the remaining amounts, I just lumped those into the different categories that they were affected. So the total remaining amount is $1,208,831.13. That included the beautification fund carryover of $30,000, and that's actually funds that are in that beautification depository that will be used to do some of the upgrades to the signage and some upgrades to the landscaping around those welcome signs. The Pet Center Fund, that is a carryover of $111,234.13. That'll be used primarily for some upgrades to the Pet Center. There's some fencing that a person actually donated to have done, so that's not local county funds, but donations. And we also received a $50,000 donation that'll be used for pet spay and neuters. Then we got some grant carryover funds that needed to be appropriated of $375,000. The WIB got notice of a grant award for the Workforce Development Board in the total amount of $150,000. And then our capital improvements fund carryover is $505,697. That's an amount that was carried over from our jail operating budget to pay for your property that you recently purchased for the jail. And so that amount is being placed in the CIP fund. Then the courthouse security fund, we have some balance that was in that fund that we've been building for a few years now, and we had to replace the scanners that are there as you come into the courthouse, and that expenditure will be $36,900. So they're the three main sections that make up that $26 million amount. And so I'm going to stop there and see if you have any questions about any of the items specifically. I just wanted to give you kind of a high-level view of what we have going on tonight. All good?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to let the board know that Mr. Tucker and I met with Ms. Vanderhyde, County Administrator, Mr. Hunt on all these issues and discussed them in advance. And I'll leave it up to Mr. Tucker to answer.
He just wanted to state that he met with me about those. Right. And he was going to let you add anything you had.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Vanderhyde, for updating the board. Yes, we did meet with Ms. Vanderhyde, Mr. Terrell, and also I think Mr. Hunt was in there. And we took a look at, and also want to thank Sheriff Taylor. He was in there and met with us as well, and it was very amicable, and we were able to resolve some issues and look at some opportunities down the road. So thank you so much for an in-depth report.
Any other questions?
Any more questions?
Well, we'll move on to some highlights from the state budget, and they're very high level right now. Like I said, we just got word of just the briefest of highlights from the budget from the state. we will be getting further details as time goes along. So Governor Youngkin signed the FY 2024 state budget on September 14th, and that was last Thursday. And this approved budget will have an effect on our county budget here. So some of the things that we do know so far is that Pennsylvania County Schools will receive approximately $6 million in additional state funding. And so at this point, we're not really sure how that will affect us as far as if they'll require a local match. The way that funding works, some things are just free money. You don't have to put a match with it. Other things do require a local match, and we just have to have time to assess if there is any additional need from the board. But at this time, we don't really know what that is. There's also funding provided for all constitutional officers and their staff to receive a 2% across-the-board increase, and that is effective December 1, 2023. And in looking at that, we have 3 constitutional officers that are on the county's pay plan. So as such, because they are on our pay plan, we have to look at how that's going to affect our county employees. So we may be looking at an across-the-board 2% for everyone that's on that pay plan. So those details will be coming in the next couple of meetings with you all to determine what we can do and if we have the funding to do that. Also, there is funding provided also to all the constitutional officers to provide increases to certain positions in the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office, the Clerk of Court's offices, and the Sheriff's offices. And that's across the state. And of course, we don't have all of those details at this time either. In addition, funding is being provided to fund currently unfunded positions in the Treasurer and Commissioner of Revenue's offices. Back in 2010, the state made some cuts to really the Sheriff's Office, to the Treasurer's Office and Commissioner's Office. A lot of the positions in the Sheriff's Office have been funded since 2010, but these offices, we still have some unfunded state positions, and so they're providing the funding this year to make those wholly funded now. So I'll be interested to see that information as it comes in from the comp board, but we have not received specific details. So also, I know a lot of you have been interested in the 1% additional sales tax for our schools, and so we started collecting that 1% on July 1st, 2023. I did contact the state to find out when our first allotment would be coming to us, and they have assured me that it will be to us on September the 25th, and in perpetuity, it will be coming to us on the 25th of each month. This allotment should be $270,121 for the month of July. Our regular 1%, just to put it in perspective, we have already received that allotment. It came at the end of last week, was $348,725.77. So you'll remember that there were some items that were excluded from that additional 1%. So that is your difference. And we weren't sure really what that meant for us because we didn't have really good estimates. So just for this month, you can see that we received 77% of the full amount for that school 1%. So if you kind of equate that out, it's about $60 million or north of $60 million that we will receive in the 19-year period. So I think that's great. It's a little bit higher than our estimates that we shared with the citizens. I have also already set up a fund to track specifically this money that is coming in, as well as the expenditures that will go out. We are working with information management to set up a dashboard on our website so that the citizens can see the progress of the money coming in and the money going out. I heard a lot of citizen complaints about, not sure that when we got this money in that it would be spent for the appropriate purpose, and we certainly want to be transparent with our citizens to show them where all these funds went. So I'm a little excited that we finally have news to share, other than I really don't know. I'm not sure. So now we've got some surety coming down the line. So, and of course, those figures will increase during, high volume times such as November and December when people are spending money for Christmas presents. So of course your December won't show till February, so you won't see that spike until then. So our next steps is county and school staff will be reviewing the budget information as it comes in to determine the full impact of that state budget to us, and additional amendments will most definitely be needed to be approved once the figures are confirmed with the state. And this will, I say it may require, but it definitely will require a public hearing if we only got the $6 million additional amount from the schools. So just be prepared for that, and that will be forthcoming. And so with that, that's my highlights for the state budget.
Now we'll move on to items, or any questions? Okay, we'll move on to item 6F, FY 2024 capital improvements, and it's Ms. Vanderheim.
Yes, so I wanted to give some highlights of the capital improvements that should be in your board packet. I went the wrong way. There we go. So you may want to know, why are you getting this? Why do I need to see this every year? So in your budget resolution, Section 8 particularly, that you all adopted on May 23rd, requires that the board approve to reappropriate capital funds for any project that's ended. And so really we don't need to bring it to you specifically every single time that happens. As far as, if nothing ended, you don't really need to see that. But it's just, I feel like you all need to see what you have in your capital funds. So that's why I feel like it's important, so that you are aware of what ongoing projects are going on here in the county. So there are 3 separate funds that you all have capital money in. They are in the Capital Improvements Fund, otherwise known as Fund 310, and that's all of your regular county, building and grounds, public safety, that kind of thing. We also have capital funds in the Water and Sewer Fund, and capital funds in our Solid Waste Enterprise Fund. So we'll go over those separately. So under the Capital Improvements Fund, your total currently stands at $9,577,158.11. There is $203,644.63 in computer capital outlay, and that's for all your computer infrastructure that we have to upgrade. That it also includes large software purchases or server upgrades, network upgrades, that kind of thing. Building and grounds capital outlay, this is for your building and grounds. Usually it's just our bucket to do things as things come up during the year. If you have to replace an HVAC unit, replace a roof, or anything like that, that is the pot of money that typically we nab for that. Fire and rescue capital outlay is at $936,879.59. That includes monies that you all appropriate for ambulances and fire trucks for your volunteer agencies, as well as anything that we might need for our paid public safety department. Community development capital outlay, that's currently at $7,103,118.40. The major reason this is at such a high level is because $6.5 million of this money is for the River Street Broadband project. And we have currently not spent any of our money on that project to date. We have allowed the schools to spend their money first, because they're on a tight timeline to make sure they get that money spent, because they're using their ARPA money. We are using general services that were freed up. So it's really ARPA money that we freed up by utilizing that money for something else. So our timeline is indefinite. So we just let them spend their money first. So that's why we don't have any expenditure so far on that project. And then Parks and Recreation stands at $351,276.15, most of which is the Recreation Master Plan update. Do you have any questions on that fund in particular? Okay. The next section is our water and sewer capital funds, and they're at $4,389,835.46. Most of which is an EDA grant that we got for $3 million, and it's doing lots of infrastructure throughout the county. So a lot of this is grant funds. So our water capital outlay stands at $1,556,871.71, and our sewer capital outlay is at $2,832,963.75. Any questions on that one? And the third and final capital fund is located in your solid waste enterprise fund. That total is $4,107,491.98. And so we have two sections. One is really for collections and one is for the landfill itself. The solid waste capital outlay is $1,649,993.93. The landfill capital outlay stands at $1,464,415.98. And then our solid waste capital outlay, that is our bond money that we had left from the money that we borrowed in 2021 from the Virginia Resources Authority. It stands at $993,082.07, the majority of which is for our site improvements. We do have a little bit of money left for landfill improvements, so we have to keep both of those segments separated. So you'll be able to see those in your sheets that break it out separately. Do you have any questions about the landfill? And that's all I have for all of that. I've said enough.
Right.
Unless you have specific questions.
No, we're good. Thank you, Ms. Van Dyke.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Ms. Van der
Yes, sir. I'm
Haat,
sorry.
just before you go, let me thank you for all your hard work. Would you do me one favor? Because the part that you were excited about, going back to the 1% school tax for the schools, just for the benefit of all of the citizens that are listening in, will you slow that $60 million down and share with them what good news that really is?
The wonderful news about that is it's $60 million that's coming from not just the citizens of Pittsylvania County, but it's coming from anybody that spends money in Pittsylvania County that's just traveling through, or, you know, they work here, but they live somewhere else. So it's not taxpayer dollars that's, you know, usually we hear, well, can't you tax something other than real estate? Well, this is the perfect opportunity to have money, necessary money, to help repair our infrastructure that we have for our schools, to put some much needed safety measures in place for our schools. And it is a much needed thing. And it's a great big win for Pennsylvania County.
Thank you, Ms. Van Haat. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Good job, Kim.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, thank you, Ms. Van der Haat. Moving to item 7. Mr. Hunt, do we have any business we need to discuss?
No, sir.
All right, moving to item 8, our closed session. Could you read us into closed session?
Yes, sir. We have 3 closed sessions tonight. The first 2 are under legal. Consultation with legal counsel employed or retained by a public body regarding specific legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice by such counsel. Legal authority, Virginia Code Section 2.23711A8. Subject matters, fire and rescue service agreement / service issues, land use designation change. Purpose, consultation with legal counsel / legal advice and discussion regarding the same. And the third and final closed session of this evening is under economic development. Discussion concerning a prospective business or industry or the expansion of an existing business or industry where no previous announcement has been made of the businesses or industries' interest in locating or expanding its facilities in the community. Legal authority, Virginia Code Section 2.23711A5. Subject matters, general economic development updates / various unannounced prospective businesses and industries. Purpose, economic development project updates on unannounced prospective businesses and industries. So now we need a motion, a second, any discussion, and a vote to go into closed session.
Mr. Chairman, I make that motion that we go into closed session.
Thank you, Mr. Dudley. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Ingram. Any discussion?
No, sir.
If not, we're ready to vote.
Mr. Warren, may I get your vote, please?
Yes.
Motion passes. Going into closed session. Thank you.
Yes.
fellas.
Mr. Chairman, we return to open session at 5 till 7 p.m. I will now certify the closed session. Be it resolved that the Pennsylvania County Board of Supervisors work session on September 19th, 2023, the board hereby certifies by recorded vote that to the best of each board member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from the open meeting requirements of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act and identifying the motion authorizing the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered in the closed meeting. If any board member believes that there was a departure from the requirements of the Act, he shall so state prior to the vote indicating the substance of the departure. The statement shall be recorded in the board's minutes. I will now do a roll call. Mrs. Eanes.
Present.
Mr. Ingram.
Yes.
Mr. Scares.
Yes.
Mr. Tucker.
Yes.
Mr. Dudley.
Yes.
Mr. Dalton.
Yes.
The closed session has been certified. Mr. Chairman, it's appropriate to adjourn the work session at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Hunt. Meeting's adjourned.
Roll call.